Hello everybody, this is Jim Larsen and I'm here to talk a little bit and show you what's inside the book, More LTD Stirling Engines You Can Build Without a Machine Shop. Now this is a companion book to my first Stirling engine book, which was 3 LTD Stirling engines you can build without a machine shop. But just because this one says it's more, it doesn't mean you have to do the other one first. This one is fully loaded with everything you need to know to jump right in and start building these LTD Stirling engines. So you can see they come out looking pretty nice. At the same time, they have a certain handcrafted look to them, so they're definitely not something that comes highly polished out of a machine shop, although I'm sure there's going to be some people building them that are going to put that extra touch on there. So I want to just show you some of the highlights in the book, just so you get an idea of what's inside. If you look on Amazon, you'll be able to look inside the book also and see what's there. So just to give you some idea, it's highly illustrated. There's lots of pictures and drawings of every piece that you need to build to put any of these 4 engines together. So there's drawings with dimensions, and then there's pictures of what they look like as they go together. In this case, there's a flywheel there. Here's a picture of a completed project. Happens to be that motor right there. So everything you would want to know as a handy person to put this together. It's all illustrated in how it happened. So the book starts out with a table of contents, just like a good book would. It's quite a detailed table of contents because there are complete instructions for 4 engines. So there's some repetition that's going to happen throughout the book just by the nature of the similarities between the motors. So in the introduction, it talks a little bit about how Stirling engines work, how the power curve compares to an internal combustion engine, how efficient are they, can they be scaled up. There's some good material in here about how these LTD pancake engines work, how they function. And so if you're doing this as part of a science fair, this is the type of illustration that I would anticipate you would use in your science fair display to show the working principles of the mechanics of how those engines work. Then there's some discussion on how to source the parts and the different things that you're going to anticipate that you're going to need to get going and get building, and some of the tools and supplies. The only really tricky bit with these motors is the Teflon tube that is used for the bearing surfaces. But you can find that and you can order it online from a number of suppliers, and some of those suppliers are mentioned in here. And that stuff is just amazing. My Teflon tube bearings in these motors probably outperform ball bearings. I'm very impressed with how it works, especially if you use the polished steel wire, the music wire, to make your axles. Every section of the book where it talks about engine plans is going to start with a drawing and end with a photograph. So that's kind of the progression we go through as builders, is we draw first and then we build, and then we have something to take pictures of when we're done. So these were all designed in SketchUp, and everything is labeled so you'll know what the parts are that are being talked about. And then there's a table of all the dimensions of all the pieces that you need for that particular motor. And then there's going to be a dimensional drawing in a variety of scales here, but all the dimensions are in both inches and in metrics. So it's international. And every piece then has a drawing with dimensions on it. And once you get through that, then we get into the instruction steps for how to make the motor. So that process repeats until you get the motor finished. And you can see it goes through the different processes as far as each time a piece is added to the assembly. It's photographed, and it's photographed in multiple views so that you can see everything you need to see. Some of the techniques that I use for measuring and cutting and drilling are illustrated. In fact, all of them are. So you can replicate what I've done with these. And that goes step by step. Now here's the next one. So it goes step by step through all 4 engines. You'll get everything you need to know to how they work, how to build them, where to get the stuff, and what kind of tools you'll need to put them together with. And it's a great book. It's my personal favorite right now. It's 247 pages. Oh, and in the end, the last chapter, I did some research on the bearing materials. I actually tested a whole bunch of different bearings, and I probably have some YouTube videos out there of the bearing tests. I tested about 20 different materials in deciding on the Teflon tube. And the last chapter has all of the conclusions, the testing methods, and the final results compared side by side for how the different materials worked as a bearing surface. So a nice little study in friction and whether or not you want to oil it or not oil it. You might be surprised at the results on that study. I also, since we make the displacers out of styrofoam, I show you how to make your own hot wire foam cutter. And the hot wire foam cutter lets you make those slabs as thin or as thick as you want them. It's really a fun tool to work with, and then it kind of opens up a whole world of craft ideas that you can do with foam cutting. So there it is. That's a peek inside the book. More LTD Stirling engines you can build without a machine shop by Jim R. Larsen. You can find it on Amazon, or you can get it in any bookstore that can get books through CreateSpace. And that is, many of the brick and mortar stores can get in touch with CreateSpace and they can order it. So if you take in the listing or printout from Amazon into your local bookstore, they can order it for you, and chances are they'll have access to it because it is under wide distribution, as wide as we can possibly make it right now. All right, thanks for watching. Be sure and like my video and share it with your friends.